Ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, 14th of June. We are I am in New Jersey, and we could name this show Jersey Boy Show today. Jersey Boy Show as part of Hall of Fame week because we've had Mick Foley this week. We have had MMA Hall of Famer Stephan Bonner, and my guest today, my Jersey boy buddy. We're pretty close to the same age. He grew up in South Jersey while I grew up in North Jersey. He is, oh God, people always say this, but he's kind of the man, the myth, the legend. He really is as far as the Jersey boy goes. My guest today is the master of the diamond cutter, Diamond Dallas Page.
Bang!
What's up, brother?
Changing the world, man. Got my buddy Marvelous Mark Merrow in town, and he's staying with me for a couple of days, and we're just hanging out. We're both changing the world. Mark's doing a lot of inspirational speaking to kids, and he has figured out whatever it is that touches kids at a different level. If you ever want to see a really great video that we did with him, Mark, what's that video called?
Mother's Love.
A Mother's Love. Go on YouTube and look up A Mother's Love. It's a super powerful 5-minute video that we did as part of one of his talks he was doing. So he's up here. We're hanging out for a couple days. So it's a good time.
Did he tell you that he was on the show 3 days ago?
Merrow. Mark Merrow?
Yeah, 3 days ago.
Dude, I'm doing the show that you did 3 days ago. He's laughing.
That's good. By the way, I just sent him an email, and I just said awesome, because we didn't know very well. I worked with his ex-wife. I didn't really get to work with Mark. I got to work a little more with you. But we didn't know each other, and he was in the beginning. He was maybe just a little tentative, and I totally get that. You know what I mean, DDP? But after a while, we just started talking. Like, I don't do shoot interviews. I'm not interested in shoots. I'm not interested in hurting people. I kind of like this vibe, two old friends talking. You know what I mean? And I think he kind of felt like that after a while, and we went for a half hour, and we had a great time.
Yeah, great guy. Like, I love it when we don't get it. We get to see each other passing, and he's coming through Atlanta. He always comes by the DDPY, the Performance Center, or by my house. But then we don't get to spend any real time. So this is the first time he's actually taken a couple of days off, so we can actually spend some quality time together.
Cool. So St. Joe's in Toms River, and then we go over and we become a Panther over at the Point Pleasant Borough High School. And you were quite the basketball player. Tell me a little about that.
It's funny, being at St. Joe's, that's where I loved going to that school, but I got thrown out of there in my sophomore year after basketball season. And going over to the borough, getting to play for Ronnie Crail, who was one of the best coaches on the planet and was just a great guy. And what an amazing player back in his day. So I had known him. So getting to go over there and play with them, it was a lot of fun.
How did you do? You had a good sophomore year. You got some varsity minutes sophomore year, if I'm correct, and then you had a real good junior and senior year.
Yeah, what happened is I wouldn't cut my hair. I was one of those long-haired kids from the 70s, and Steve Gepp was like, "You're staying on JV till you cut your hair." And finally I was like, what am I doing? And I cut my hair, and I started the next game with Stan Yoshes and Drew Dyer. We were all sophomores. Our freshman year, we were undefeated. So I was really looking forward to playing all 4 years with all those guys because we really did have a really good team, and we played as a team. And so being forced to leave, sucked at the time, but I'll make the best out of anything. Like I said, getting to play with Crail, and I did real well. I did. I really came into my own really like in my senior year, and then going into that next year, going to Stockton State. I actually did, that's where I really blossomed, and I went over to Ocean County College, and that year we did really, really well. And I averaged 23 points and 13 rebounds. That year I went to Ocean County. For a white boy who couldn't really jump that high, I did really well. But it was all about work ethic. Worked really hard, and I realized back when I was a kid, because I was a kid, I played football and hockey. Like when I was 10, 11, that was my game, football and hockey. And then I got hit by a car when I was 12 years old, and they wouldn't let me play football or hockey anymore. And back then, I didn't play basketball. I hated it because I sucked at it, and for some reason, the doctors figured it was okay for me to play basketball, but I couldn't play football or hockey. So I didn't even make the team in 7th grade. That year, 8th grade, I went out for the team, and I sat on the bench. And I realized that's never going to happen again. And that summer, I went to St. Peter's Park, and I played every day, 5, 6, 7 hours a day. And when I came back my freshman year, that's where my career started. I realized that work ethic equals results. And that was what would be the rest of my life.
You're such a Jersey boy. We are birds of a feather. Jersey boys are special, just like Jersey girls are special. I almost see you back in the day. You're of a certain size, and you're of a certain look, and of a certain, you got that thing. You got that way about you. I almost think like I could have seen you when I was going into Reggie's, or I was going into DJ's, or I was going into Mary's husband's pub, and seeing you at the door checking my ID, and you looking at me like, oh, this guy's going to be a problem, and me looking at you as like, oh, shit, I hope I don't get into it with you at the end of the night.
It's funny because, I started bouncing at Jimmy Burns Seegert Inn.
Oh, my God.
At 18, so that would have been like 74, 75, and then I started bouncing over at Archstocks Royal Manor, and while I was there, I went from bouncing to bar backing to actually bartending, and I worked at a bunch of other little clubs, from the Ship Wheel to Stone Pony, and then I went up to Jersey. North Jersey, in South Orange, and ran a rock and roll downstairs, and I was 22 years old, and I'd been trying to wrestle. I had 3 matches. I was horrible, but it was my beginning. It was the beginning of the dream, and then I screwed up my knee again. So when I get hit by that car, when I said I hit by that car, what happened is I walked out in front of the car on Route 88. It hit my front right knee. My face bounced off the hood, and I flew 42 feet from the point of impact. That's why they wouldn't let me play football or hockey anymore. And in my 3rd match, I really tweaked that knee, and it put me out, and I got the opportunity to run this place in South Orange. It was my mother's ex-boyfriend, Bob Widger, who bought the place, and he asked me if I wanted to run the rock and roll club downstairs. I was like, absolutely. And from there on, if I wasn't running the club, I was bartending. We opened up. I went down to Texas about a year later, and I stayed in Houston, Texas, and that's where I really learned the bar business. I was lucky enough to get with a guy named Bud Reynolds. He took me under his wing. I was there for a year. I helped him open up about 4 different clubs. Most of them were country bars. And then I came back for a wedding, and that's when Club Xanadu was actually just been gutted. It was about to start reconstruction, and I talked my way into being the general manager of the place. And that was an experience all its own. Club Xanadu was the hottest place during that next winter on the Jersey Shore. It was pretty amazing.
So, Dally, if I can, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to talk for a second and tell you a story about exactly why we're here today, if you will. I mean, we're here. Let's make it straight that because you said yes, that's why you're here. But I asked you for a reason, and I'm gonna tell you this reason now, and this might jog a memory for you. So it's about 2000, and I'm working at WWF New York, and all this talent's coming in every day. And one day you got Stone Cold and let's say Billy Gunn. Another day you got Rikishi and his dancers with them. You know, another day could be The Rock. And then one day we got this special thing going on, and we got this cross promotion with Toys R Us. And you're the main guest that day. There might have been 2 or 3 other guys, but you were the main guy. And this Toys R Us, it might have been with Mattel or Hasbro, but it was what we had to do is that you and me as the head of security that night, and you did as the WWE talent. We were like 2 Pied Pipers, and we were taking groups of about 20 people over from 41st and Broadway over to about 45th and Broadway over to Toys R Us. And my point, and what I remember the most, is that you were one of the boys. And I don't mean one of the boys as a wrestler. I mean one of the boys as like one of these people. You were no better than me. You were no worse than me. You and I were these 2 Pied Pipers taking these fans over and then taking them back. You interacted with everybody. You were such a gentleman. You were like the coolest guy. Where that's not for everybody. What makes a WWE superstar? What makes a guy who could like be putting himself over every single minute in that couple of seconds? Just a nice, good old Jersey boy, and just a regular guy. Like, what is it about that?
No, I've always treated people, you know, not even the way they want to be treated, because most people treat themselves like shit. You know, they talk bad about themselves. They put shit food in their mouth. They don't have any self-confidence. I don't treat them the way they want to be treated. I treat them the way I want to be treated. And I don't consider, I've always said, when I was on top of the world in the nightclub business, it's like being famous when you're, you know, at the top of the world. I used to say almost famous. I treat the same guy who runs the 7-Eleven that is the CEO of the 7-Eleven companies. It wouldn't matter, you know, to me. I'm going to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I just feel that it's just good karma all the way around. That's how I really feel. I just feel everybody's, you know, pretty much deserves respect.
And do you actually remember that night?
Yeah, it's funny. As soon as you start telling the story, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost like there were other guys, there were other superstars to do it that night, but you're the one who stepped up because that's who you are, man. You know, it's like, I always go back to the Jersey boy. You know, we're special. You know it, and I know it. And, you know, the song I'm in love with a Jersey girl. There's a reason my opening music is Bruce Springsteen, you know, because he really is the boss, and he's a Jersey boy. And I was born in Massapequa, Long Island, but I'm a Jersey boy, dude, and you are a Jersey boy. We're never going to get away from it.
Yeah, and you can. There's, I can't remember who I was talking about the other day about it, but, you know, he was from Jersey, too, and it was like, you just sort of look out for each other, maybe because we took so much shit from Saturday Night Live and, you know, all the ribbon that they did at our expense. But, you know, to me, you know, I love that, you know, that Bruce and John, I love the, you know, the special, you know, John Bon Jovi is a special cat. And, you know, I'd be surprised if he doesn't run for governor or something like that. I could see him doing that. You know, I like the guys that, you know, when I tell people, I go, you know, from the same area I was born, Bam Bam Bigelow, John Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, Danny DeVito, and Jack Nicholson. Like the same, 10 miles, 15 miles, which is pretty crazy,
Yeah. So you're 35 years old, bro, right? You're 35. You're excelling in the bar business. You've gone from bouncing to managing, and you've done everything in the clubs. You're probably becoming almost like a club kind of celebrity right now, and I think now you're in somewhere in the Florida area, maybe Fort Myers, and you're running a club in Fort Myers. What makes you? Where are you the moment that you say, I want to be a professional wrestler? We knew you were a manager before you were a wrestler, but there was a moment you didn't get into the business, of managing by accident. My theory is that, we knew eventually, you probably knew eventually you would be a wrestler. But where are you and what's going on in your life at 35, that moment?
At 35 came, I left the bar business at 34. Oh, well, I should say at 35, I sold my piece out because I had a small piece of the place. I sold my piece out and I went Dusty, I'd worked with Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes had taken me under his wing. I always say without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. Even though I created my own thing in the AWA by sending those guys a tape and of guys who wanted to be wrestlers, and then they actually called me up and said, we want to bring you and your guys in for a tryout, but we've got one question. We've shown your tape around and no one's ever heard of you guys. Where are you guys working? Basically, don't call us, we'll call you. But Paul Heyman, who was Paulie Dangerous at the time, he leaves the AWA, goes to the NWA, which would become WCW, and it opened a door for a young guy that could talk. And they brought me in, and that night I was managing the Bad Company, Tag Team Champions of the World. So I was doing that. Dusty had brought me into Florida Championship Wrestling. He loved me. He took me under his wing like a big brother. And then he couldn't make Florida go, so he went to the WWE, became the polka dotted guy. Finally, he left there, came back to WCW, and he was the head booker. And I had built a relationship with Dusty that, I always say people think it's all about who you know or who knows you. I believe it's all about who's willing to say they know you. Who's willing to pick up the phone and make a call for you, and Dusty did that for me. He got me a tryout with the WWE. I went up there, it didn't work out for me, but now he was back in WCW, and every month or so I'd call him because I always tell people, relationships are everything. It's not about who you know or who knows you. It's about who cares about you. Who you put the time in and the work in. That's the reason why Mark Barrow's here for 2 days, because we're brothers. And coming up on 30 years, that we've been this tight. And you gotta build those relationships. You gotta put time in. You gotta put work in. And I would call Dusty, not to be a pest, but I would be what I call pleasantly persistent. And I developed a relationship with his wife, Michelle, and great woman. And it was so important for me to thank her when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame, because I know without her, Dusty never calls me back, but he would. And now he brought me into WCW. I'm managing the Freebirds. I created Scott Hall's Razor Ramon character before he was ever Razor Ramon. He was a diamond stud. And 5 months into it, Magnum TA pulls me over. And this is coming from Dusty, but Dusty doesn't want to tell me.
I love it.
But I'm overshadowing the boy. Scott Hall warned me about it all the time. He goes, Dally, you're too animated out there. Your clothes are too over the top. you're taking attention away from, I didn't mean him. He meant, the boys in general. Like, people are paying attention to you. They need to pay attention to me. You're a sidearm. And I didn't really understand it until Magnum said it to me. And he said, we can't let you manage anymore. And I'm like, Magnum, are you telling me I'm too over the top of professional wrestling? He said, it's not really your fault. He said, what we should have done was put you in a pair of tights and boots and see if you can do this. And he kind of chuckled because he knew, like, it's too late now. You're 35. Actually, 35 and a half. And when he walked away, I thought about it. And I thought, I never got in this business to be Captain Lou Albano, who I loved. I didn't get in there to be Classy Freddie Blassie. I wanted to be a wrestler. And I had 7 months left on my contract. I figured, I'm gonna go down that power plant. I'm gonna go down every day, and I'm gonna make them. And they tried to run me off. They beat the hell out of me. Just try, but they do that to everybody.
Buddy Lee Parker.
But WWE, they beat you up when you go down that performance center. If you don't come in tip-top shape, they're going to run you off because you disrespected them by not coming in tip-top shape. This is the show, man. So I knew I needed to get in the best shape of my life. And Merrill will tell you, nobody worked harder than me. Nobody. And he's laughing over there. I was the first to come. I was the last to leave. I set the precedent there. And when I was there, I was in one of those 3 rings the entire time. And if my back was hurting me, I worked on punches. I worked on chain wrestling. If I was, it didn't matter what I was doing. Most of the time, though, I was teaching. Once it got to about 4 or 5 months in, 6 months in, I started working with some of the younger guys. And then when I came back, after I tore my rotator cuff and they let me go, and I came back, I was always teaching. And I found out that the more I taught, the more I learned. The more I learned, the better I got. And
the more, go ahead, I'm sorry. I said a question for you.
And one of the things, like, what really started my career, and I ain't saying that because he's here, is Mark sitting right over there.
Johnny B. Bad.
Because he would come down and he and I would work on our matches, like what we would do in the ring. And I can remember the first time, like, they weren't going to put us on TV. This is still early 1996. They weren't giving us anything, but we had an angle started for Saturday night. But on Nitro, we just said, can we open the show? Can we do the dark match? And we go out there and we do 20 minutes. And by the time no one at that time was doing false finishes. Now, I took it from Flair and Savage, Flair and Steamboat, Steamboat and Savage. I took their 1, 2, like, no one at that moment in time was doing that. It was something that was sort of got lost. But when me and him started doing it, and you could hear the whole crowd going, 1, 2, and I look up at him, I go, we got him, bro. And it was like, that was the jack. You can look at any of our matches from 95, 96, and you're going to say, wow, those guys had amazing psychology, and he was the baby face, I was the heel. I never beat the son of a bitch. And friggin', he was too good. But we made each other. We elevated each other. And those matches, it didn't matter if I lost every match. Every match we had, it elevated me and really helped me later on.
You were so persistent to get to that point that you went down to the power plant for 5 years. And remember what I said at the beginning of this. I don't do shoot interviews. I'm not interested in shooting, and I'm not interested in crapping on anybody. But I'm just going to ask one question. not everybody, obviously you had some type of relationship with Buddy Lee Parker. Not everybody had pleasant experiences with him. What was your experience with him?
He stretched the hell out of me in the beginning. Like I said, they were trying to run me off, and he was part of that. And like nobody believed in the 35-and-a-half-year-old amateur turned wrestler. Like there's no way. So they figured just run me off. But then at some point they realized, oh, he ain't going nowhere. And I'll never forget Jody Hamilton about 3 months in pulling me in his office. And Jody was assassin number one. Him and his brother, as the assassins, with hoods on, worked for 28 years on top in every territory from Japan to Canada, United States. They worked everywhere on top. And he said to me, he said, kid, if you keep doing what you're doing, you might just pull this shit off. He was the first one to say it could be possible. And Buddy, you know, I love Buddy. Buddy was awesome. Buddy was that drill sergeant that you hate when he's being the drill sergeant, but as you sort of get through boot camp and then you're still working, becomes a good buddy.
Did you thank him in your Hall of Fame speech?
Yes, I did.
Of course you did. Your career, in terms of your age and what happened, parallels another guy who had a lot of experience with Buddy Lee Parker, and that's Dave Bautista. You were two guys who were well into your 30s, became professional wrestlers, and then, boom, took off like meteors, and Dave will probably be a Hall of Famer someday, too. Dave didn't have a real good experience with Buddy Lee Parker, but that's not really the question. The question is, do you see that your career parallels Dave's in some way?
Well, except for the fact that looks like a god.
He's going to love that, bro.
Greek god. I'll tell you a story about Dave, which I'm so happy for his success. I mean, Dave Bautista is an A-list actor. He's at the top of his game, and you know he's only going to get better. He did such an amazing job in the new Blade Runner. What was it called?
Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, that's it. He did an amazing job in that movie. I'm really proud of him. When I first met Dave, it was OVW, and I'm sure Buddy just thought he was going to run it. Because I watched Buddy run a lot of guys out of there. I can remember this one dude who was 6'8", tattoos on his head, 315 pounds, and he didn't come in with the respect for our business, meaning he wasn't in the shape he needed to be in. And at some point in those 500 squats and 10 push-ups or 25 push-ups, whatever we did in the middle of those 50 squats, which would end at 500, you know, he didn't make it a third of the way through, and he started blown up, walking for the door. Buddy came from behind him, grabbed his collar and his pants, and said, "You're not walking out of here, you're running." And he ran this monster out the door and just shoved him out the door. Guy never came back. Buddy would have kicked his ass. Anyway, but I'm sure he was too stiff on Dave. When Dave came in, my first match in WWE was down there. It was Taker and Kane against me and Batista. And Dave and I, so we met, you know, we talked obviously, and then he came into WWE, and I was still there, even though I was only there for a short time. They brought him in, and he would just be by himself. He kept to himself in the beginning. I mean, everybody looked at him, and they were jealous because they knew, okay, that beast is going to get a hell of a push. So people sort of didn't talk to him, but I would always talk to him. And he would see me because I would be skipping rope and running bleachers and doing whatever I did while I wasn't, doing, DDP yoga in the middle of all that. He saw me doing that, and we talk here and there, and I remember walking by me one time, going, never seen anybody with a work ethic like you, man. And he just see me doing that, and we talk here and there, and then years goes by. I've left there. He blows up in this huge star. I took 2.5 years off before I was about to come back and start working TNA. And I'd done a couple of matches, and one was with Kanyon. And we were in Baltimore.
I love Kanyon.
That was one of the most underrated talents ever in our business. I felt like I was working with myself. Not that I was as good as him, but I felt like it was so easy to work with him. But me and Chris, we had already had our match, and I'm signing autographs at intermission. I knew Dave was there earlier, like doing an autograph signing, and I wanted to say hello to him, but I didn't get a chance. And I was in the, just on the other side of the curtain signing autographs, and someone popped through the curtain and said, "Hey, Dave wants to say hello." So I popped my hand like, "Hey, man," gave him a big hug, and he said, "I never really told you this," he goes, "but when I got to New York," he said, "nobody would talk to me." He said, "Everybody ostracized me for whatever reason." He said, "But you talked to me." He said, "I want you to know it meant a lot, and it really helped me. The stuff you said, it really helped me." So I was like, "That's awesome," because look at him now.
Well, I want to thank you, and I can't wait till I'm done, because the first thing I'm going to do when we're done is I'm going to text Dave and tell him that I talked to you and you put him over, because you're a Jersey boy. That's what Jersey boys do. I need to ask you about one more name, and then of course we want to talk about DDP yoga. I want to talk about real quick about your experience on Shark Tank, because I know good things happened afterwards, because I know that show. I'm a big fan. But can I ask you about a friend of ours? I got to travel the roads for a few years and get very close to Eddie Guerrero. And I know you two got some history, good history, from your WCW days. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Just tell me your memories of that beautiful man, Eddie Guerrero.
Like I said earlier with Mark, and that was the first sign of me and Mark working together. People, wow, man, he's getting better. But it was Eddie who made everybody go, man, that son of a bitch can work. And we were lucky enough to get that feud in the middle of '96, and he had to go to Japan, because they would send people to go work. I think it was for New Japan at the time. And so they wanted us to go out there, have a match, and then he was going to slip over and roll me up, 1, 2, 3. And after he gets his arm raised, you spin him and hit him with a diamond cutter. And then you hit him with a diamond cutter. And then you take him off the top rope and you hit him with a diamond cutter. And take the belt and whip him. He goes, and then Chavo will do the running. So Chavo's a kid. And I was just with him at Johnny Morrison's wedding, and we were talking about this. And Chav, who's also doing incredible out there in LA with Glow and all that. Super proud of him. He's another great kid. But he slid in, and of course I powdered out, which started a little thing with me and Chavo, and until Eddie got back. And then Chavo and I had a great little thing we did, and then Eddie came back and we started our angle. And it took my working to a different level, just because, first of all, he could do anything. Like, there wasn't anything that Eddie couldn't imagine and then do. Him and Rey Mysterio were probably the two best ever at that. Today, there's a lot of great guys in this era that can do shit that I don't. Yeah, Ziggler, guys like that who can do anything. He's very much like an Eddie Guerrero when it comes to, having the availability to put his body anywhere. But there's a lot of great guys like that today. Finn Balor and, Seth. Seth's really great too. But when it comes to Eddie, the psychology that after growing up in the business and his brothers all having the history, and my history started with the Guerrero brothers in the AWA and Bad Company. Like, that's where a feud started. Man, I did so many things with Chavo, Hector. There were those guys. It was like that whole Guerrero thing was in my blood. So I could talk about so many different things in interviews, which added to the layers of like reality heat. And back then you could still get away with saying things like Burrito Boy, stuff like that. But he was just such a pleasure to work with because, again, you had an idea, he could do it. And then so that started to make my mind go other places, that it normally wouldn't have because he could do anything. And I remember we're in our final match where he's supposed to go over on me, and it's Halloween Havoc, and we're having this hell of a match. And he comes off the top rope, flying through the air to me on the floor. And what happened to him, the same thing happened to Mero one time. He had, on the rib, you don't break a rib. When you tear a white muscle in between your ribs, because it's a white muscle because there's no blood there, it hurts so bad you can barely breathe. And I didn't know that he did that. And his adrenaline was probably so high that he kept going. He goes for about another 4 or 5 minutes. And at some point, we're in the middle of the comeback or the heat. I can't remember where it was at, but he says, "Diamond Cutter." I'm like, what? He goes, "Diamond Cutter." I go, "No, Eddie, you're supposed to go off the top and go Frog Splash where it's supposed to end. That's supposed to be the finish." He goes, "Diamond Cutter, Diamond Cutter." I went, okay. Boom. 1, 2, 3. He had torn that white muscle in there, and he was kept going, but he didn't let me know until he couldn't go anymore. So it didn't matter whether Eddie won or lost that match, but it mattered to me because it was in October of '96. And my career with the people was starting to do this. And Eddie was helping to turn me babyface. So it was about to happen with the NWO, but that was a really big deal for me. And it wasn't supposed to be like that. Eddie called that. He could have said, "Small package," and rolled me up. "Don't kick out." He could have done that, but he didn't. He gave me that match, which was awesome. And it was great. Again, it was huge for my career to get a win over Eddie Guerrero. And then when I was on top of the world in '98, and I was doing that thing with Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman, which is coming up on its 20th anniversary. And I'm about to go into that pay-per-view. So they put me with Eddie on Saturday night, and we're the main event. And so I was in the back, and Eddie walks up to me, and he goes, "Hey, D, I got a new Diamond Cutter for you." And guys would just do that. There were so many different ways into it. Guys were thinking how they wanted to take it. And Eddie goes, "Let's do it out of a power bomb." I go, "A power bomb?" I go, "How the hell are we going to do that?" So he goes, he got in a position, he goes, "Roll me up on your shoulder." So I roll him up on my shoulder. Now Eddie's laying backwards like this. I'm just, tying him up there, right? I go, "What do I do now?" He goes, "Boost me." So I go, like that, right? Of course, Eddie flips to go right here and then just slides down my back. And I look at him, I go, "Wow." I said, "Man, if we can do that, man, if we could time that," I go, "that would be amazing." because I'd never done it before. I only done it once. One guy. Only one guy you could do that move with. And Ziggler could do it. Ziggler could actually do it out of the powerbomb. I saw Randy Orton do it to him one time. Zig kicked way out. I mean, Eddie could have done it too, but this was just a different version. But when we hit that perfectly, because no one saw it coming, I put him in and I threw up the sign. Someone's diamond cutter. But wait a minute, put him on his shoulder. What does he mean, diamond cutter? And then I did it. They exploded. I went crazy. And the ring just friggin' went crazy. I was so pumped. The place went crazy. And I covered it with, dude, that was amazing. I love you. And I rolled off him. But he was an amazing performer.
Thank you for putting over in your own DDP way two of my favorite guys in the history of the business, Dave and Eddie, two beauties. Eddie broke my nose one night in Nova Scotia. What happened was him and Los Guerreros were getting their heat, right? And they're doing a run-in. And what happens before that, because I'm the guy at ringside, you remember Jimmy Dotson, right? All right, so I took over Jimmy Dotson's role. I was the guy at ringside. We're in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia built this, we hadn't been there in, 10, 12, 15 years. And they built this really nice arena in downtown. And what would happen before a show is the agent in charge of that particular piece that night would come to me and said, listen, at this point, whoever's in the ring, Booker T or somebody's going to do, and the Guerreros are going to hit the ring. He said, I want you to duck, so let them come over your head. Anyway, Terry Taylor was the agent, and he doesn't tell me. So it's going on in the ring. All this stuff is going on. Bing, bam, boom, boom, boom. And then I hear something from the crowd. So I get up and look right over the top of the barrier as Eddie's coming in, and Eddie's knee hits me square in the nose. Boom, my nose splashes, right? I got the signs. I got the two big signs down my face. So Chavo sees that. They go in the ring. They lie, cheat, they steal, they tie everybody up. Boom, they're the champs. They run back out, and Chavo sees my nose is broke and says, fuck it, punches me right in the fucking nose, and then they take a powder and go backstage. So we were leaving for London after that. I flew to London for 7 hours with tissues in my nose, holding my nose together at 35,000 feet. So Chavo and Eddie, my boys. Where did Vince call you for the Hall of Fame? Did you get the call from Vince, or did you get it from somebody else that you were going to be a Hall of Famer?
And that was a moment. I was filming Positively Living, that documentary that they did for my DVD collection. And it's up on the network right now. And we filmed, where I played basketball, where down the park, what I was just talking about, in St. Peter's. They filmed me at my old home where I grew up, me walking my dog on the boardwalk. And then we were getting a shot at one of my watering holes that one of the girls I went to high school with, named Linda Smith, the Broadway down there on Broadway Avenue, And at some point they go, hey, D, there's a beautiful sunset. Let's get a shot and get these last questions done. So they put me out there and get ready to go. And right before we're ready to shoot, they hand me the phone. Mike, the producer, hands me the phone. And he goes, hey, boss wants to talk to you. Now, it's sort of loud, so I can't really hear. And I go, who is this? He goes, it's Paul. I go, hey, what's up, bro? So Triple H got me on the phone, and he said, so, man, how's it going with the shooting? Now, you have to understand something. I have been trying to get a hold of him for a month and a half. I've called him 2 or 3 times. He's called me, had the office call me back once. I figure this is the next call back. And I can't remember what I want to ask him. Now, I'm thinking, what the hell? While we're talking, I'm trying to remember what, because if Triple H actually takes the time to call you back, you really didn't know what the fuck you called him for. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about that. And this is October or November. Can't remember which month it is, but it's somewhere around there. I just signed a book deal up in New York City for my book, Positively, which we need to talk about in about a couple of months. Come back and talk about Positively Unstoppable, Positively Unstoppable, the art of owning it. I just signed that deal for that. So my brain is not on the Hall of Fame. It's October, November. I'm thinking, I know at some point I'm going in, but I don't know when. So I like put it out of my mind, you know. So they're talking about, my, being down there on the shore and my career. And then he starts really putting me over, like really putting me over. And at some point I'm thinking, is this that call?
Wow.
And as I'm actually thinking that, he says, one of the things he said was, when you first got in the ring, he was there as Terra Rizing. He was down the power plant. He was one of the guys who had my work ethic. And he's watching me try to make this transition and thinking, what the hell am I thinking? It's never going to happen. He goes, but man, you proved everybody wrong because of this and that. And he starts putting me over, and I'm thinking, man, this. And then as I'm thinking, is this that call? He says, we're putting you in. It's your year. And man, it choked me up. And that he made the call, and I would have loved to get the call from Vince too, but it was more important to me that I got the call from Paul because he saw it all, and I remember saying to him, man, I wish Dusty was here. And, it was just his anniversary of his death a couple days ago. And I put that tribute up, Dusty Rhodes tribute. If anybody wants to see it, just go on YouTube and just pull up DDP and Dusty tribute. It's powerful. And just saying that, choked me up. It still does. But when we hung up, and I'm getting all teary-eyed and getting all choked up at the time, and I'm realizing they're filming me, because I didn't really think about it, because I'm talking to him. And I hand the phone to Mike, and he goes, so what did you think? I said, what do I think? I said, what I think is, I wish you were filming him. He said some amazing shit there.
He was putting me over.
He said, oh yeah, we were filming him. Seriously? He's like, we've been talking about it for years.
Wow.
How do we do that? How do we get the reaction? Because if we come in with cameras, any of the boys they're gonna know what's up. It's not gonna be a surprise. They're gonna know. He said, and today Paul walked up to me. He goes, "You doing that thing with Dally today?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Tell him we're putting him in. We're gonna tell him today. I'm gonna tell him." He goes, "When you get to the end of the day, call me." And so that's what they did, and they put it at the end of the video. My Positively Living video. You got Paul, Mr. Triple H, the heir apparent to the throne, along with Stephanie, picking up the phone and calling me, man. It was, and I'll tell you a story about this. At the end, me and Ric Flair, over our time in WCW, we're always super nice to each other, but there was heat between us for stupid shit. And at one point, after Rick got the big send-off of the balloons and WWE and stuff, I'd said some stuff, he said some stuff. I'm just thinking, I don't want to feel this way about Flair. I love Flair. I don't want to feel this way about it. I don't want him to feel that way about me. So there was a signing in Jersey, and we were both at it. So he walked in the door, everybody greeted him, he just retired WWE, all that. And eventually he turned around and I was standing there. He's like, "Hey, Diamond." I'm like, "Hey, Rick." I said, you got a second to talk? He said, sure. So I pulled him off to the side and I said, listen, I know me and you have had heat, with each other over the years. He was like, oh, Diamond, don't worry about that. I go, Rick, I'm not worried about it. I want to fix it. I go, I love Ric Flair. I go, I don't want to. I know I've said some shit. I know you've said some shit. I go, I don't care about it. I said, I'd love to start all over again, man. And I put out my hand. I said, I'm Diamond Dallas Page. And he popped. Gave me a big hug, a kiss, and that was it. And over the next 8, 9 years, whatever it was, whenever we'd see each other, we always talked. And, when my wife got cancer, him and Wendy come up and, asked me how she was doing. And, we just bonded on a different level. And then when Dusty passed, I didn't be around anybody, so I got a hotel way in Tampa, out, on the outskirts of the city. And I'm having, lunch, and who comes walking up? A Flair. Friggin' gave me a big hug and sat down, met my wife, Brenda. Loved Brenda. And his family was there. Charlotte was there. David was there. His kids were there. As I was leaving, and you don't do this to Flair, I made sure the waitress took care of their tab. So I go to the memorial, don't see Rick there. I know he's there, but I didn't see him. Get back to the hotel. As I'm walking in the hotel, I hear Diamond Dallas Page. No one buys Ric Flair dinner. I'm buying dinner tonight. We're drinking and eating all night long. Get your ass over here. I said, let me go put my bags upstairs. And I did that and came down. We had a great night. I felt like Dusty, because Dusty and him were brothers. They had heated times, but they loved each other. So I sort of felt like Dusty almost put that together. Kind of crazy. So then for the Hall of Fame, Rick and I run into each other a couple times. I got to finally thank him in my speech, because I know him putting me over for that first world title. He could have said no. And that'd have been that. I don't know what would have happened that night, but he didn't say no. And Sting, Hogan, and Flair, and DDP, nobody thought I was going to walk out of there world champion. But I did. Diamond cutter on Ric Flair in the middle, and I thanked him, because I know that put me one step closer to that Hall of Fame ring. And so the night before we're going home, I'm walking by, Rick's at the bar and waves me over. And we're just having a drink, we're talking. And he says, so what time's your flight tomorrow morning? And it's 7:30. He's like, whoa, who booked that shit? Not me. He goes, man, I'll be up at the crack of 12. He goes, you too. He said, you and Brenda, I got a Lear jet here. You're still living in Atlanta, right? I said, yeah. He said, you're flying back with me, you and Brenda. I go, Rick, I got so many bags. Thank you so much. But he goes, not taking no for an answer. He goes, you're a Hall of Famer now. You're limousine riding, Lear jet flying tomorrow. Next day, we had a great time. The plane got delayed because of the crazy storms that there was going on down there. We finally got in the plane. He gets in the cockpit. I'm like, Rick, what are you doing up there, bro? Don't worry, he's taking off and landing. I'm only flying while we're in the air. And when we landed, he found out it was my birthday. So he took me and Brenda out to dinner, sent us home in a limousine. I mean, you talk about the end of an amazing career. That was the bomb, man. That was good to have. Me and Ric Flair doing a diamond cutter sign outside his Lear jet.
God bless you, my friend. God bless you. That's beautiful. So we want to we want to go soon because we hadn't. We talked a long time, bro, and I'm so grateful. You know how lucky am I? And I was just a security guy at WWE, but I get to talk to you. I get to talk to Mark Miro and your inspirational stuff. I talked to Jazz this week. I talked to Stephen Bonner. I talked to Mick Foley. I mean, all these people are putting me over. All these people like you, and you don't have to do it. And you're being so kind, and I'm so grateful. I can't tell you. You know.
I got to put over Stephen Bonner. You talk about a bad son of a. Back in the day, man, that was a. I'm sure he could still fight, but back in the day, he was a bad motherfucker. He was a bad man in that ring. Well, I want to leave it with this. We'll talk about DDP Yoga next time I come on and talk about the book.
You got it, brother.
Anybody, I really want people who are watching, if you're watching this, go and like my DDP Yoga Facebook page. I just started what I'm calling the We Can Rebuild You series. I have 5 different people, 2 women, 3 guys. This isn't a reality show. This is real life reality. People who have limited mobility, whether they're over 500 pounds or they have no weight to lose, but they're a disabled veteran that's walking around with the shuffling, walker and can barely get around. His name is Jerry. I just put up the first episode. It's like 3 minutes on DDP Yoga. And you're going to want to follow this guy's journey. We're about 3 weeks behind as far as, because we're editing. So as we move through it, where this guy's come in 3 weeks, it wouldn't seem like a lot for people who wouldn't really see the journey. But when you see the journey of what he can't do and what he starts to do, my DDP Rebuild program, which is on DVD and also as part of my DDP Yoga Now app, which the app is, DDP Yoga Now, the app is just blowing up. If you want to check it out, 7 days free. You can try it for a week. If you don't want it, cancel it. If you want it, then you get whatever plan you get. It's not just workouts. It's cooking shows that teach all the really healthy food that tastes great, because I don't care how good something tastes. I don't care how good. I don't care how healthy something is. If it don't taste great, I ain't eating it. All these different cooking shows that we're constantly putting up every week. Motivational Monday, every Monday. I've got a new way for you to inspire yourself to stay on track. There's over 150 of them up there. Tracking systems so you can track your weight, your inches, your pain, your blood pressure, blood sugar, A1C. But the workout section, so now that we've added DDPY Rebuild, and I don't ever call what I do yoga, because it's yoga for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. So I call it DDPY or DDP Yoga. And there's a reason for that, because it ain't your mama's yoga. It gives more than the benefit, because it's yoga, rehab, old school calisthenics, and dynamic resistance, which means time under tension. It means flexing and engaging like Bruce Lee did. That guy was shredded. He didn't have an ounce of fat on him. My point is that it jacks your heart rate up, gives you a great cardiovascular workout, dramatically increases your flexibility, strengthens your core at a different level with minimal joint impact. Well, I took that to a whole new level with DDPY Rebuild. You can't get out of bed. You wish you could do something, but you can't even barely get out of bed. I got 3 workouts for you in bed. Those are my bed flex workouts. They get you ready to get in the chair. Those are my chair force workouts. I got 6 of them up there. That each one of them helps you get stronger and stronger and stronger, so you can get out of the chair and start to use the chair in my Stand Strong workouts. And there's another 10 of them up there. And I teach you all of the modifications through my Diamond Dozen, where I break everything down. So now, anyone at any level, of course, after that it goes beginner, intermediate, advanced, extreme, which I don't do every day, but I do at least once a week in the middle of all my other workouts that I do. But there's over 150 workouts up there because of all of our live workouts that we do every week. So constantly adding new stuff. So DDPYoga.com. DDPYoga.com is where everything is. You can download it on your iTunes or Google, but the bottom line is you want to get 20% off, go to DDPYoga.com, and then you'll get the deal, and every question is answered there.
Do you still have the accountability crib?
You know, it's so funny you say that. I still own it. I bought a new home in Atlanta. This place is the Castle, and this is where I've got hyperbaric chamber.
Wow.
Got a cryo machine. I put Mark went up. He went down to 222 degrees below zero. Mine, since it was already chilled, when I walked in there, mine was at 257 below zero for 3 minutes. It makes your body feel like unbelievable, like especially when you're doing it all the time, just like I'm doing the cryo chamber and not cryo chamber, the hyperbaric chamber. But I'm doing this because you'll see in the next 3 years, I'm going to start working with some of the biggest athletes in the world because I'm going to be able to teach them like what Brady's doing, what LeBron is doing, and showing them how, like LeBron spends $1.1 million a year on his body. Now, how does that turn into that? Well, from the treatments that he's doing for one thing, but he has his trainer on the road all the time with his family. So that can count up. But a guy makes $100 million a year. He's the best player in the league. And there's a reason why he should go on to be the #1 scorer of all time. And he might just take over. It's not over yet, but he might just take over Jordan's legacy. Well, that remains to be seen, but this guy, he is taking care of his body at a different level. That's what I do. I'm not preparing for 65. I'm 62 years young right now. I'm preparing for 75, 85, 95. I'm preparing for where I'm going to be, for the shots I've taken in the head, for the times I've been knocked out. That's where the hyperbaric chamber comes in. I'm teaching people at a different level of health. And the whole DDPY Rebuild series, that'll be on DDP Yoga, Facebook. We'll share that out there. Please share it out. Jerry's story, episode 1, is up there right now. We're going to be doing Buff Bagwell's story. He's going through 2 shoulder replacements, 2 hip replacements. He's really a guy who broke his neck twice. He's in the first third of it, but we're about to come up probably next week with our first story on Buff, and to bring people up there so you can really see like how bad it was when he started and where we're taking him. And then I've got a couple of women, a guy who's 550 pounds named Norman. These stories, instead of just doing like we do where you see a 4 or 5 minute clip with this amazing inspirational story, this is going to be weekly. And at some point we'll have 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. Right now it's just 1 day a week, but it'll build to 2, then 3, 4, and 5. And again, this is our real life reality series. And it's all based on ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary things, especially the people who don't have hope. They believe they've destroyed their bodies, they don't know how to turn it around, and they've given up hope. Mick Foley is one of my And all he did was follow the program. I worked with Mick a couple of times. It's not like I'm working with these guys all the time. So the disabled veteran Arthur Borman, I worked with him one time. He just followed the program. You know, but what we're showing with our real life reality series is week by week. So you'll get to see it and then go back and say you catch it in the middle. You're going to be able to go back and watch, because everybody's used to binge watching, but it's not going to be a half-hour program. It'll be 3 or 4 minutes. So you'll be able to put together 10 episodes in 40 minutes, and you'll be caught up, and then you'll be able to catch up to it. So that's the biggest thing I'm working on right now. It's constantly educating people about food, about health, about their fitness level, about how they can turn back the hands of time. So we'll talk more about it when we come back, because I'm about to, a couple months away from pre-selling Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It. Like, you want to know how I've done this stuff? At 35 as a wrestler, in my 50s, turning into my 60s, entrepreneur, and pretty successful. We'll talk about the Shark Tank thing next time too, because that'll be a good segue. The Shark Tank.
So October, let's say October-ish, we want to cover. You'll have the book coming. You'll have the book coming out. We can cover your experience on Shark Tank and what happened afterwards, yes. and all that good stuff. If it's okay with you, hold on, let me get this off there. If it's okay with you, I would like to, I've never done this before, I'd like to dedicate the show to 2 of our friends and 2 people you spoke of so highly today and so lovingly. I'd like to dedicate the show to Eddie Guerrero and Dusty Rhodes, if that's okay with you.
Awesome. Absolutely.
All right, brother. God bless, my friend. Please say hello to Mark Miro. Thank him for me for the other day. I'm so blessed to have people like you guys in my life. What a great interview. You are the man. You're a Jersey boy. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Love you, man. Have a great day.
Take care, babe.